What's going on, everyone? This is Mark Bruce with Fit Strength Performance coming at you with another episode. Today I'm going to talk about 3 ways to reduce ankle pain. This is something that's come up in the gym with conversation with athletes. Coaches have brought it up, parents have brought it up. When athletes, whether you're basketball player, volleyball player, lacrosse player, baseball player, football player, field hockey, whatever it might be, these athletes are putting a lot of time and energy, and they're putting a lot of volume on their feet, on their ankle joints. And having ankle discomfort is common to a certain degree, and it is it is the nature of the beast. It will come with playing your sports. But there are some things that athletes can do religiously to reduce their ankle pain. So if you're an athlete right now who does not have ankle pain and you want to prevent ankle pain from occurring, this information will be beneficial. If you are an athlete, even if you are an adult who is dealing with ankle pain, these 3 tips can help you reduce that ankle discomfort. So to disclose first, if you are someone who's having chronic ankle pain to the point where you have to take days off, it is 4 out of 10 discomfort every single time you play your sport, you need to go see a physical therapist, a doctor, get a referral, go to PT, just to get an additional opinion. Because we don't want to see you have a stress fracture, have some type of issue with your tendon or ligament that doing anything in my kind of environment could aggravate it more, because that's outside of my scope. So if you're someone that's 4 out of 10 every single day, I advise aggressively to go see a physical therapist and do things like that. At Fit Strength Performance, we have a physical therapist on site, and that's something that all you have to do is reach out and we can set you up with a consultation with that individual or with that company. So, number 1, if you're someone that's dealing with ankle discomfort, what should you do? Well, you should manage the stress and the load that you're putting on that ankle. So if you have pain from running or jumping, running and jumping every single day is going to cause continued issues. And what we do know is that something that's like a 3, 4, or 5 consistently can turn to a 6, 7, 8, and then your body's gonna start compensating, right? So if you have ankle pain on the right side, you're gonna use your left side more. Your body's gonna find another way to prevent pain. And this is where we develop, more stiffness in the ankle. This is where we develop where we have muscles that are now under firing, that aren't doing their job because something else took over to get rid of that pain so you could be successful at your sport. So the first thing is gonna be manage your stress. But when I tell this to athletes, the first thing they think of is, I can't work out anymore. I have to take time off. Well, that's not the case. You don't have to take time off. The 3 things that you should focus on are, number 1, take time off what you're doing that's causing pain. So if going to practice every single day is causing you pain, well, it doesn't mean that you don't go to practice. It means that you start to figure out what causes more pain. Because then you may take a day or 2 off of that, maybe 3 days to reduce the pain. And then next, you still want to train the healthy areas. So if running and jumping causes you serious pain, even if it's low-level jogging and low-level jumping because you're at practice for 2 hours, you shouldn't just sit down at practice and do nothing. You should be training the healthy areas. You should be providing that blood flow to your entire body to maintain the ability to, produce force, to still keep your conditioning up. So if you have ankle pain, right, you can ride a bike for 20 minutes to maintain your aerobic capacity. You can strength train the healthy areas. So if you have chronic right foot pain, well, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't train at all. You should be training your left foot. You should be training your posterior chain, right? Typically, if you have right foot pain and jumping and running cause you issues, I'm sure you could do a low-level trap bar deadlift. You could do a barbell RDL. You can definitely do a single leg RDL with the left side just to maintain the ability of your body to handle your sport. And then you can train your upper body. It won't be as exact to your sport, but what you still do is you get to keep up with everything else. So once you get back to your sport, if you take 3 days off of basketball and you're practicing for 3 days and you take those days off, right, you're going to be behind from timing, from just your cardio, your endurance. So you still want to train, right? You still want to lift weights. You can do plenty of med ball circuits. You could do plenty of bike sprints to keep your energy where it needs to be, to keep your aerobic output where it needs to be. And then you want to provide blood flow to the damaged area. So if you have right foot pain, right, you shouldn't just keep your foot up in the air and do nothing for 3 days and then go right to practice. You know, you should be doing some low level exercises to provide blood flow to your soleus, your calf, your foot, your hamstring, your quad. So those muscles are still staying strong. And what we do know is that if you just ice your foot, what you're doing is, yeah, you're reducing the pain, but you're reducing blood flow to that damaged area. And we know inflammation to a certain degree is going to help heal those issues. So you shouldn't just kick your foot up, rest for 3 days, and then go back to practice. You should be spending those 3 days providing blood flow to the damaged area. That's why I say if you have to kick your feet up for 3 to 5 days, you probably should go see a physical therapist first to get those lower level exercises to improve the blood flow and the pain tolerance and the tendon health of that foot. So that first one is stress management. Number 2, mobility. Typically, if an athlete is having foot pain, there's something wrong within the kinetic chain, right? If you feel tight at the hips, maybe your hips are too tight or they're too weak. You know, if you feel stuck or restricted at the ankle, most likely you're having some ankle mobility, ankle restriction. So if your knee cannot go past your toe without your heel coming off the ground, you know, you don't have enough ankle mobility to absorb force appropriately, and a lot of that will have to do what that tibia is doing. So that bone in the shin, you know, if you're someone who has really, really high arches or really, really flat feet, you know, so you're too supinated or you're too pronated, you know, that's going to highlight that you're going to have some mobility restrictions, whether it's the ankle or the hip. And typically, if you're someone that has foot pain, the next area is going to be that knee, and then it could be the hip, or it could be the hip and then the knee where you have discomfort, you know, because you're not absorbing that load appropriately. You're not taking the stress off your knee or your hip because the foot's not doing what it's supposed to do. So that's one area where you need to look at. And common areas is going to be ankle dorsiflexion. So that's just a simple, can you push that knee past your toe, whether it's 3 to 5 inches, because that's going to highlight some issues in your ankle, which is why you're having foot pain. And then, like I said, do you have really high arches or do you have really, really flat feet so you're overly pronated? For people who have really, really high arches, you might need to get a foot insert. You know, I'm not someone that throws a foot insert at someone right away or suggests it, but, you know, when you're playing, you know, in that moment, your foot is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So maybe if you have really, really high arches, getting a foot support to help you pronate, meaning flatten your foot out more, is appropriate. If you're someone that has flat feet and you have foot pain, well, you may need to strengthen the bottom of your feet first. You may need to change your footwear. You may need to do some little things like that to strengthen your foot. And then the next piece is hip mobility. So typically, if you have some foot issues, you probably have some restrictions in your hip, whether it's your pelvic positioning, and that means you're lacking internal rotation or external rotation. So that's where you need to spend time improving your hip mobility, improving the relative motion, meaning what the right hip does compared to the left hip. Because if you have right foot pain, you know, you might have tightness in the left side, so the right side does too much. Right? If you have right foot pain, there's probably a muscle on that side that isn't firing, and it could be restrictions of your hip. So you need to strengthen and or mobilize or improve flexibility of that area to take off the stress of the foot so the muscles will do its job instead of, you know, joints and tendons and ligaments and all that being overworked. You know, those are those 3 areas when we look at mobility or flexibility of the foot. You know, it could be ankle dorsiflexion. It could be because your foot is overly pronated or overly supinated. And then the third, it could be some hip issues, whether it's lacking internal rotation or external rotation. So those are the 3 things that you should be thinking about and getting support to identify what's going on and what's causing foot pain. And now the third thing is going to be implementing isometrics and tempo work at a low level, depending on the foot discomfort. Because isometrics is a great way to improve tendon health, whether it's the knee, the foot, the hip. So if you're having foot pain, doing isometrics is going to take the stress off the damaged tendon, but then it's going to provide that blood flow. So that's something to improve strength. It could even improve mobility depending on the drill. It's going to provide that blood flow to support the ankle. And things like that. And then the next thing we like to do is we like to do tempo work. So you could do an isometric calf raise, right? You could do 3 to 5 sets of 45 seconds. Then you could do tempo calf raises where if you're really, really injured and being tender on your foot, you could do a calf raise on 2 feet and then lower 1 with the foot that's weak. Okay, so that is a way to provide stress on that area, but not over stress. So depending on your foot pain, that's where you could do some eccentrics, some isometrics combined that improve blood flow and then also strengthen the area. A lot of times with foot pain, athletes have weak calves and they have weak feet. So calf raises, isometric calf raises, tempo calf raises, so you're going up, slow, down, slow, up, slow, down, slow. Or you're going up and then 6-second eccentric down or 4-second, wherever it might be. You can elevate the foot to challenge the depth of the heel to really stress the calf muscle and the Achilles, depending on what's really the problem. And the next thing that we love to do is have athletes do some 3-0-3 tempo squats, right? To elevate the heels and constant tension, because if you elevate the heels, you might get some improved ankle mobility because the heels are elevated and your body now knows what should be happening. And also when you elevate your heels, you improve hip mobility. So that is going to check off a lot of boxes. So if you're someone that has wedges, we have wedges in our gym, so you elevate the heels, you can take a light weight and you're just going 3 seconds down and then 3 seconds up. You can even go 3 seconds down, hold at the bottom for 3 seconds, and then come back up in 3 seconds. You can really manipulate what you do depending on what you feel. But again, you're providing stimulation to the muscle, you're providing blood flow, and you're challenging the other muscles that are healthy so you keep them healthy. Because what we end up seeing is when an athlete has a foot issue, they put their foot up, they stop doing anything for 3 to 5 days, and they go right back to their sport because they feel good. But the healthy areas end up doing way too much because they're compensating for the weak areas, and they've also done nothing for the last 5 days. So that's like a huge shock, right? So if you have a right ankle issue and then you start playing ball, you might develop a left knee issue because that left side ends up doing way too much and it's underprepared for when you step back out onto the court or whatever sport may be. So those are the 3 areas that we've talked that I highlight when you have foot or ankle discomfort, right? The first one is going to be stress and load management. The second one is going to be providing improving mobility at the ankle or the hip and flexibility. The third one is going to be isometrics and slow tempo work, whether it's squats, whether it's RDLs, whether it's calf movements. That's going to help strengthen the foot and the ankle, and that hopefully will fix some areas that are causing the issue instead of just attacking the symptomatic area, right? Your foot is having symptoms, but what's causing those symptoms? We don't just want to put a Band-Aid on it. We want to kind of connect the dots and fix the whole person. And then there's a bonus one. Maybe you have to recheck your footwear. Maybe your footwear is the problem. We have basketball shoes, but maybe you shouldn't be training in the weight room in your basketball shoes. If you're a field sport and you're always wearing cleats, you have narrow cleats and then you have narrow cross trainers, well, that could be causing issues too. So that's a bonus one, evaluating your footwear. So thanks for tuning in. I hope that helped. Share, comment, share this with an athlete, share this with a coach or a teammate, with a family friend, just to provide some of the work or some of the support that we're offering you, and just help brand the company and Fit Train Performance. Again, thanks so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode.